Education sector and see what is left of it and what can be revamped. Well, Mr. Ekere joins us now. He's a lecturer, philosophy department, University of Lagos. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, Associate Prof. Adegbudo was talking about the fact that both federal, state, private institutions are not immune from this challenge. Lecturers, they bring up all sorts of attitudes. Students contribute to the lot. Government also come into the fray. It makes everything just go all right. But from what you've seen now, then this standard that the JAMB is bringing, is that the best we could do in the circumstance?
Well, thank you for the question, but I think that JAMB is only trying to do, his little bits. But the problem with the education sector is not really with JAMB. Neither is it with the university system. Because the university system, it is what you bring into the university system that the university takes care of. The problem really is with the foundation level. I think that's where the problem of Nigerian education system is. Because sometimes you get in students who seem not to have passed through, the basics, primary and secondary school levels. A situation where you have an undergraduate who do not know how to write a letter. And to worsen matter, with this GSM, pattern of writing has equally infiltrated the education system. So the problem really, we are overemphasizing the university. The primary and the secondary school level, the O level, is the major problem we have with our education sector.
It's interesting that you mentioned it because just yesterday, the Senate Committee Senate Committee on Education paid a visit to the Universal Basic Education scheme, I think, Quebec, and they did not have very bright news for the committee members. They were saying something about in whose hands primary education, basic education lies. They say the federal government should have no business, taking care of basic education. Do you share this view?
Well, normally that is the way it should be. At that level, we expect that the local government should play a role. And the state governments, in fact, if we were to have a well-organized system, the primary education sector should actually be a responsibility of the local government system. But today we don't even have local governments. We only have, just segments of appointees, that are no. In fact, the local government is no longer part of Nigerian law, even though there's provision for it. I am not aware of any state that truly organizes, local government election periodically as at when it should be. At best, you now have people who, first of all, plant caretaker committees. Some are even sole administrators. Some are run by their HR.
This have their ripple effect.
Yeah, the same way. Now, if you have this kind of people who have this kind of mentality, how are you sure they are going to, show concern about the education sector? You find local government chairmen who are now billionaires from the local government office. Not that they were anything, to talk about before they got there. So the emphasis is actually, and the reason is that the states are actually, the culprits for this, because a situation where I know that 10 billion naira, for instance, is supposed to be for my local government, and the state is withholding about 5. What would be the moral ground for such a state to ask what I have done with the 5 that is given to me? That is the kind of system we have. So we have a system of just, appoint those who are loyalists and just as a form of compensation, instead of focusing on what their duties should be. So on a normal day, the local government should have taken care of the primary school level, all right? But that is not the case today. You still find, even secondary school too, the federal government still runs some. You have all those federal schools, like the federal government colleges and the rest of them. But even at that, they are still the same. They are in the same mess.
So, would you say that ideally,
yes,
for you, ideally it should be with the state and the local government?
Yes, perfectly. That is the way it should be. So that the emphasis, as a matter of fact, the federal government should have been more interested at the other level, but then they should provide the policies. If we are saying that government is about policies, they should provide a framework for the systems to work. And the true management of the system should be in the hands of those who are closer to them. For instance, you have the presidency in Abuja. How are they going to monitor a system that is in one typical village far away from there, where you don't have, in fact, a lot of these places, you don't even have any stain of local government presence. So how are they going to monitor those? So it is better for those who are closer to them to actually handle them. And the local governments are the closest, ideally. But incidentally, we don't have local governments. We simply have, some mushroom gatherings where people are appointed.
It's very interesting how you said it, because you live in Lagos, where recently they did local government elections.
Yes.
Were you not aware of
Lagos
that?
is about the only state that is a bit, reputed for that. But even that local government itself, the local government election, we saw how it turned out. All the allegations and the rest. You see, but then it's not peculiar to local government. Every state we have in Nigeria today, the state that the party that is in power in that state obviously will be the one at the various local governments, councils. Good enough, I've contested a local government election, so I know what is involved. It's just like, okay, these are the candidates of the various wards from my party. They are declared winners. In some cases, they just do some kind of rubber stamp arrangement of, okay, let's see people line up as if they are voting, but the actual results are not the results of the voting. That's what we're saying.
When we talk about education now,
yes.
One is forced to bring in politics into all of this. Yes. How come sometimes we hear some fantastic blueprint statements, policies, and at the end of the day we don't get to see anything? Even now it has degenerated among the NUT, Union of Teachers. Yes. They have a different union called ASUS, Academic Staff Union of Secondary Schools, and they say they are not members of NUT anymore. NUT should be solely in charge of primary schools, while ASUS should be in charge of secondary schools. So these are some of the issues people are asking. Is this for the betterment of the education sector?
I do not even see that as any solution to the problem we have. They are just simply, these are just matters of nomenclature. People are just trying to call names. What is the true function of that? But where is it different from that of the NUT? It is the same work at that level. Maybe because they cherish the name academic, they now want to be seen as academic, as if they are simply teachers. Call them many names. They are teachers, the primary, secondary school, whether they call themselves, if they like, let them even call themselves Association of Lecturers in Secondary School. It still does not change anything. They are just teachers at that level. But the question is not about the name, it's about the work. What quality of job are they delivering? Now, what environment are they, because these are the factors. You look at the environment in which they are working.
If you bring in environment here, sorry, Mr. Ekere, to butt in there. Mr. Adegbulu did say, well, there's a difference between a lecturer in a private university and a lecturer in a public university. You lecture at the University of Lagos. Perhaps maybe you tell us why he thinks that way.
Well, it all depends. Maybe I don't know where the difference he was talking about. Is it in terms of, okay, I'm in a private environment and this one is in a public environment, except maybe there's something otherwise. That is the only difference. But in terms of the delivery, it is the same job you are doing. The private universities simply took a cue from the public ones. They designed their programs having looked at the public ones. Now, I even expect that they should have better programs. They should be more robust because they are now copying from somebody who already has, gone the way. So you have somebody to learn from. That should give them more, And again, I expect that, funding in their own area should be very appropriate. You should be able to, look at what you can do and go for that instead of just having, a very large system.
Is funding also part of the problems we're having with education?
Yeah, generally, yeah.
That also affects the performance of the students?
Obviously. Is it not funding that brings about facilities? Funding is a major issue.
Yeah, but his focus mostly, I mean, you might disagree saying that it will vary from school to school, but his focus mostly was on monitoring of lecturers and their attitudes. He was talking about some schools where the lecturer will only come to class in the whole semester, maybe twice a semester, and then load 15 lectures in one class and students will be forced to attend that particular lecture. Is that obtainable in some schools? Obviously it is.
In the private institution you hardly get that, but in public schools, yes. In fact, if the students, if a lecturer who does not come to school eventually bring about 15 lectures in one and deliver them, the students should still count themselves lucky. There are those who don't come at all, and when they manage to come, they don't even give you that number you are talking about. At best, they just deliver a lecture. The rest, they tell you, I've given you the outline. Go to the library and research. This is the kind of attitude you find. We went through such too. Asula is a living witness. All right, we have such an experience. You have somebody who is going around town looking for all manner of businesses, and at the end of the day, when it is close to exam, he comes in and he hands an outline to you. Okay, he makes effort. So sometimes we had lectures at night where we are not even students. All right, We even have to go ahead to borrow hands to come and help us. So many things were done, all right? Now, that creates a problem for the system because that can only happen in a public system. Nobody checkmates, nobody monitors, there's no form of, sanction.
Even as you are a lecturer now,
yes.
So nobody is actually watching to see what you are doing.
Who is watching when is equally guilty of the same offense? Who is watching over who? The system has, this regulatory system. But then who is the regulator? Because he's guilty of the same offense, he does the same. It's a general problem. You find people who fix lectures at their convenience. It happens. There are only very few hands who take the lecture as it is given, by maybe the faculty timetable officer. But so many others who want to do it according to their convenience. And the moment you begin to go into that, even some students opt for it as well. Why not we just make this in this manner? So it's a give and take arrangement. But I think the most important aspect of it is, do you come to class? Do you deliver your lectures? What is the quality of your lecture? Now, assuming you come to class and you deliver quality lectures, the people you give these lectures to, who are they? Because people come to school from all manner of, places. We have all manner of, arrangements to get into the university. Miracle centers are there. You find people who never passed through the secondary school properly, but they have results that are even better than those who passed through the school. All right? So that is why the universities have introduced this idea of post-UTME. Because somebody who scored 350, 300 in JAMB, and at the end of the day, we saw one like that who got 300, who could not get up to 50 in post-UTME. They have so many. So
is it getting better now? Now that they've got post-UTME, in terms of the impact on the policy?
It is better. It is better because now, like in the University of Lagos, we make do with both the JAMB and the post-UTME. We share them equally. Maybe JAMB divided by 8, post-UTME divided by 4. You bring it, that is the aggregate you now have as a cutoff. All right. Now, what the JAMB is trying to do now by reducing what they have done is pass mark. What the JAMB is fixing is pass
minimum
mark. Yeah, that's the basics, the least you can go.
160.
All right.
For universities.
So whether
160 for colleges of education.
No, even if they make it 150, it doesn't make any difference. You see, because you might just find somebody. Because when you look at examination, sometimes some people who are very brilliant might not read the relevant areas. And if you don't read the relevant topics, you go into an exam where it will look as if you are a nobody. All right? Somebody who perhaps was just gallivanting might say, okay, let me just focus on these topics. And if eventually the questions come from such topics, what happens? The person will excel.
So is there something wrong with that system?
For me, JAMB is simply, if I would say my mind, a waste of funds. Because at the end of the day, what is the relevance of JAMB today? Before JAMB, were Nigerian universities admitting? Okay. Now, would you say that the qualities they produced then was lesser than what we have today? So, JAMB is another, body through which money is simply being siphoned.
What would you rather have?
You should leave that to the universities. Let them simply... Yeah.
To decentralize it?
Of course.
There shouldn't be a standard.
You should only have a body to regulate, not to conduct exams for admission. I don't know if there's such in England. I don't know if there's such in the US. I have not heard. A situation whereby one institution will be admitting for university. Every university has its own, test.
But A-levels, it's like saying that, would you say that WAEC can suffice for that? I mean, if you made the minimum requirements in your WAEC, for instance, should that be okay for you?
No, that is only a prerequisite. That is not the entry, it only gives you the entry requirement. That does not give you admission. You still need to go through the exam conducted by that university, the screening exam, to know whether this candidate is actually fit for our system. Because at the end of the day, some of these people, before the post-UTME, people go through JAMB, find their ways, come into the universities, when they actually supposed to be in the garages and other places, and some workshops to learn other trades. All right, and these ones would displace the true people who have interest in this system and who are qualified for the system.
But you rightly pointed it out. You said it's a prerequisite. What usually happens? I remember that in my own time, you had to write JAMB. Yes. You also, even if you passed JAMB and you did not have the minimum required by WAEC and the school,
yes,
you still don't get it.
It's still the same today.
So exactly. So why can't you just stick with WAEC and say, okay, assuming you are saying that JAMB be prescribed,
yes,
and that is the situation, why can WAEC suffice?
No, that's what I'm saying. WAEC still remains, a body to prepare you for the tertiary institution level. because you need that WAEC level to enter. But what I'm saying is that WAEC itself is not the admission.
And why is it not sufficient?
It is only a necessary condition, all right? WAEC is a necessary condition, but that is not to say that it is absolute, okay? But WAEC is still a better organized exam than JAMB. Okay. And not only that, it is even more relevant. We're talking of relevance now.
Why? Basic level.
Yes. Now, the JAMB issue, what is the role of JAMB? Now, just to tell you, okay, out of about 200,000 students that applied for this exam, these are the ones that are passed, so you can screen from this one. Whereas there are some persons who are even better than these ones, who perhaps might not have had the opportunity of writing JAMB. Okay? So if they were to have opportunity of, okay, taking exam by the various universities, you can also apply for as many as possible.